Aloha and welcome to Author Talk with Lori. I'm coming to you from the beautiful Big Island of Hawaii, and I'm so excited about my guest today, Angelo M. Goshen. I hope there's not too much glare. Here's his book, Spilled Milk From Trauma to Triumph. And Angelo, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's an
Ye-
honor.
Yes, of course. So I really enjoyed the way that you wrote your book, kind of I called it scenes. You wrote your book in semi kind of short scenes, and I just love that. It made for a fast, kind of easy, engaging read because you didn't. Well, and then so the front half I felt like was the things that you had gone through, and then the back half became kind of the lessons you learned or the lessons you wanted to impart to
Yes.
people. So I really enjoyed the way that you wrote the book. So why did you write your book, Spilled Milk?
Well, for one, that book was in the making for approximately 2 years, and I just never could find the time to sit down and put a lot of thought into it, with life and everything, going on around you, keeping up with your kids and what they have going
Yes.
on. But 2020 slowed us all down. And it was
Yeah.
a perfect time. I was off work and I was thinking to myself, this is the time. Like the Holy Spirit was just like, now is the time. So I had that time. So I was able to sit down and put thought into it, put it on paper. First book, had no idea what I was doing, but I just knew I was being obedient. So, but I
Yes.
wrote it, with the idea of like, we're going through a lot, all of us. And this is a time to let myself know as well as everyone else is. We've seen things before, maybe not to this magnitude as a country, but individually, we've had our own battles. And
Mm-hmm.
so this was the time to let you know we will get through this as well.
Yes, fantastic. I felt like the book that I wrote, I call it a God assignment. I was being obedient to it. So I can definitely relate on that part. So the other thing that I kind of enjoyed about your book is it did span your whole life, like up to now. And so I enjoyed, the reading from when you grew up. So it sounded like you grew up like really poor in rural Arkansas. So I know you were very little then, but tell us a little bit about the real early days, that long dirt road down to the mailbox, or it's like
So we grew up, it was my brother and I. He was my senior, he is my
yeah.
senior by 2 years. But it was he and I for 9 and 7 years before our first little sister was born. So we had a lot of interaction with one another. So it was just us two, for all those years. And we didn't have a lot, but my mom instilled in us, treat people right, do the right things, So we always had those life lessons and
Mm-hmm.
those things to always treat people the way you want to be treated. That was like the golden rule in our household. So
Yes.
we didn't have a lot of monetary things, but we had a lot of, those things that you pass down, that knowledge and that wisdom, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and how to treat one another, how to be responsible for the things that you do and how you portray, the things that you learn in life. What do you want to do? And so we never really thought about the materialistic things. We always thought about we have each other, so let's have fun. So I tell my son all the time, I said, you missed out on it because like when we were growing up, we were outside and got a chance to do a lot of different things and
Mm-hmm.
play in it, and learn and grow just in nature, and it was that we didn't have a lot of material things, so we had to make our fun, so to speak. And I think that was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yes, so you learned all of the things that money can't buy, and I loved your mom. Your mom's great, and your relationship with her is really great. So
Yes.
yes, you have this, your early years in rural Arkansas, and in my notes I didn't write it down, so I can't remember if you moved already before you went to kindergarten, or if this was in your same town. Um, but now you're in kindergarten, and something was said to you that you had never heard before or never thought of before, because you had your little kindergarten crush on a cute girl, and
Yeah.
and so what did she say to you?
Okay, so we were on the playground, and everybody, were holding hands, and I was like, well, I'm gonna find the girl that I have a crush on, and I'm gonna go hold her hand. And it was so funny. Like it's like it's permeated in my brain, like it's there. It's like never going away. It's burned into there. But so I find her, and I was getting ready to hold her hand, and we held hands for a few seconds, and then she was like, I don't like you. You're too black for me. And I was like, what does that mean? I was like, what is too black? I don't know what that means. I had never heard, too black. And so it was like, it blew my mind. And I was like, so then I never quite grasped what she meant by that, because kindergarten, I'm 5 years old. So
Right.
I didn't even tell my mom about it. It's just like one of the things, like, what does that even mean? I'm too black. Like, I don't know. So, but
Yes.
that's what she said. So that was my first time hearing, you're too black for something. So,
Right. Well, so because it made me sad, right, reading it. Uh, but so as a kindergartner, you didn't really understand it. It just was like kind of what, and she said it
yeah.
and just moved on, like as
All right.
kindergartners can do. Just so it didn't really affect like your soul or anything at the time.
Mhm.
Anyway.
No, man.
Okay. I'm so
Not during that
glad.
time.
I'm so glad. um, good. That I'm so glad that didn't set something up because it was hard to read. It was hard for me to read. Um, and so you kind of went through there. I know you moved a little bit early on, and wait, something weird's going. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Okay, um, and so you moved. You kind of moved as people move and that kind of thing. And then I believe you went to stay at a cousin's or not like a blood cousin, but of somebody who's considered family.
All right.
And some things happened there. Kind of another one, just early on, these obstacles that you're having to overcome.
All right.
So what was it, at your cousin's house?
Yeah. So that was actually very hard to write, to even put myself back in that place.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was important, to put
Yes.
it out there to let people know that this stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the only one that it's happened to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to speak up and speak out when that happens. It's
Mm-hmm.
perfectly fine. But it took me years to actually speak out about it. My mom didn't know. I was grown before I even told my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I was embarrassed, more so than like I didn't know what to think of it, and I didn't know what to do. I just knew it didn't feel right.
Yes.
And I was like, this, like, wait a minute, like this is not what we're supposed to be doing, Um, and I held on to that for years and years. And like I said, I didn't tell my mom until I was an adult. And but I wanted people to understand that you can get through those things. Molestation is real.
Yes.
It happens daily. It's
Yes.
family members. It's strangers. It's people in authority over wherever you are, churches and schools and home. And so it was important for me to put that in there. And like I said, it was hard to write, but it was
Yes.
necessary.
Yes, definitely. And you just were embarrassed about it initially.
Mhm.
That's why you didn't say anything to anybody just from embarrassment.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. It was yes, also hard to read as well. And then I just felt like your cousin's mother, um, she knew, and it was just odd her response, kind of the nonchalant
Hmm.
response that came from her was a little bit disturbing. Um,
Hmm.
so, what did you think about what she said?
When you're young, you didn't put a lot of thought to it, but now that I have the time as time has gone on, I was like, well, wait a minute. If you knew something, you didn't
Yes.
talk to him, you didn't,
Right. Yeah.
there was a time you should have intervened if you knew that he had, was doing that to not just me or to whomever, I'm sure I wasn't the only one. And so
Yes.
if there's an underlying problem there that wasn't addressed. And so then when I look back on it, and like I said, when I was writing it, it dawned on me, like, wait a minute, like, how many more after me,
Mm.
what happened to you, because that was years and years, so I'm like,
Yes.
no, I don't think she handled it correctly. And like if you know that, I'm a kid, I don't know. But I knew it was wrong. But yeah, so her response was kind of like mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sorry that happened to you. But
But
one of the other things that I love about your book is just your perseverance, your faith, your ability to kind of keep a positive mindset
mhm.
after trauma and obstacles and all of that. It was just really impressive that you could always somehow see the bright side of something that was going on, because you had just like one big thing after another after another after another.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so a few years have passed, and your biological father kind of abandoned, or your biological father wasn't around, but your mother remarried and had your sisters, your two little sisters, and then it was your stepdad that
Mhm.
ended up kind of abandoning the family and really leaving you, your mom and and the babies. Well, you were 16, but in a hardship. So talk about that time.
Yeah. So so I was a sophomore in high school,
Yeah.
and my sisters were even younger, like I mean elementary school age.
Mm-hmm.
So having to watch my mom endure that, and she was going through what she was going through, and at the time I didn't know what that was. I'm 16 and I'm in high school. I'm learning life myself,
Yes.
but I didn't know the term it was then. After writing the book is when I kind of rationalized, right, my mom was, going through heartbreak and depression,
Mm-hmm.
together. And I didn't know what it looked like, but I knew I had to keep going because I had the girls, my two sisters,
Yes.
and I had to keep mom encouraged. That was the worst I've ever seen my mom, her as she was not eating and just not herself, her
Mm-hmm.
glow was gone. Her light was not shining.
Yeah.
That's what I was used to. My mom always had this great big smile and always, upbeat and stuff. And that was hard to endure. But I knew it was like God was there telling me, like, you can't give up. You have to keep going. You have to keep pressing. You cannot allow this to, slow you down from what you need to do. The girls didn't ask for it. Your mom didn't ask for it, and you didn't ask for it, but you're that bridge, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
So I have to keep this together and hold, myself accountable for sure. And until my mom could figure out, and get herself back. And I knew she was going to come back.
Yes.
It was just a tough time. It was small town, people talking and whispering and bringing it up. And so, she had to endure that. And of course, at that time, I'm in high school, so I don't hear the talk, but you can feel the talk. And I don't know if anybody knows that. When you're in a small town, it's like the aura around you, you can feel it. Like I didn't know what was being said, but I knew it was being said.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew my mom having to go through that, she didn't want to go out. She didn't want to do things, because she was embarrassed and outside of hurt and,
Yes.
and all of those things. And so, I was like, okay, it's on me. And then it was fine. And I tell people that because it taught me a lot of life lessons,
Mm-hmm.
even at that age. So I was
Mm-hmm.
able to mature a lot faster and grow and become, who I am today was because of that time, watching my mom, suffer through and watching, me having to do things that the husband is supposed to do, or
Yes.
some when you don't have that, then you rely on yourself. Well, then I had the idea of I know what I would like for a man to be in my life. So I would have to do it. So I just like, okay, God, help me through it. I don't know what to do, but I can do what I can do.
Yes. Yes. And it was impressive, the way that you kind of stood up and became the man of the house. And, because like you said, you're 16, you're in high school, you were a sophomore. That's a lot of responsibility and a lot of hard choices, that you have to make at that age between home and fun, like what you
Right,
really want to be doing as a
right.
teenage boy. But you're a good son. Again, I love the relationship between you and your mother. So you came through that. It was really hard. I don't want to spend the whole time talking about the woes, but the electricity was off for so long,
Mhm.
and you just figured it out and made it through. So that was really impressive to me. And so that happens, and as a young man, you had met somebody, you were married, had your son Kai, um, and then that didn't work out. We'll leave some of the things for the readers, but
Right.
there was a infidelity. Your wife at the time had
Mhm.
cheated on you, basically.
All
Um,
right.
but what I wanted to talk about was then that marriage, ended, um, and you were remarried, not too long afterwards, after 20 days of so
Yeah.
that was fast. And so talk a little bit about why that happened in 20 days. Like, what was your thinking, you know,
Oh, yeah. So,
to make such a big decision after 20 days?
right. So,
Yeah.
let's just say after the trial happened, and Kyle at the time he was 5, and I was kind of like, I'm a father, but nurturer, maybe not so much. But I know how to be stern and be the man and be a father, but I didn't know how to do the nurturing. And I
Mm,
just felt like he, at that time, he was still needing the nurturing, from
yes.
a mother figure. Um, so essentially, that happened. It was so fast. Like I can't really put it into like the words. It was just a thing, and I felt like I was doing the right thing, but I didn't go about it the right way. I guess
Mm,
that's the best way to say that. I
mm-hmm.
felt like I was doing the right thing. I just didn't go about it the right way. And you know, it was as the years, with her were passing, you start realizing, wait a minute, like we didn't really know each other. And here we are now, 2, 3 years in, and you're like, wait, I'm still learning. I didn't even know who I was at the time, let alone, taking on someone with 2 more kids,
Yes.
and here we are, it, it it just kind of, it was just one of those things. But I was like, I made this decision, so I'm going to stick it out, and I'm going to, do my best. But that's not the right way to do that. So I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but it does take time. It takes time to get to know someone, and you certainly can't do it in 20 days. Let me tell you that. But it just it if it wasn't for my son, that probably wouldn't have been that kind of haste, to do that. But like I said, I was trying to do the right thing, just went about it the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah. And we do that as well. So during that marriage, I know you were working and going to school, going to college, kind of bettering yourself to just have a better future. But you also did the very thing that happened to you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you as well, committed adultery. You had an affair.
Mhm.
Um, and so I want to talk, I want you to explain a little bit about, something that was so hurtful to you. Then you went on and did that same behavior
Mhm.
to somebody else, really. So
Right.
so how did that work? I mean, yeah.
So how it works, I don't know, but it happened. And so, I just speaking for myself, I was lost in a place. I was in a place. I wasn't healed,
Yeah.
from what had happened to me. And then, you know, then she's murdered, and so I'm
Mm.
still dealing with a lot of emotion
Yes.
and a lot
Yeah.
of things. I'm still trying to figure stuff out. I'm
Yeah.
still learning myself, and trying to be the best I can. And then I found myself not happy, in a place where I felt like I'm drowning where I'm at. Um, and I'm in this place, and I had conversations with her, like, I want to move, when I graduate from college, this area feels like I'm bogged down and like I'm underwater. And it literally felt like that, like I couldn't catch my breath. And it just was this thing. And so I'm dealing with so much. Kai wasn't really happy, and seeing him, not really mesh with her, and them dealing with their things. And so I'm still like, okay, I've been divorced once, I don't want to get divorced again, type thing. And that was my mindset. And so when you're thinking this, then you lose yourself. I'm doing everything for everyone else, but I haven't taken time for myself, to figure me out. And so when I it was crazy, because it was just a Facebook message, using Messenger, and then it went from there. And a week later, here we are, and I'm like, wow, and then, I'm trying to get out of it. And, and I'm like, how? I was so mad at myself. I was angry, and I was like, this is not who I am. I don't do that, and then, so, and then it happens again. And I was like, okay, stop this, get yourself together. What is going on? And I'm kicking myself, just the idea that I didn't have enough, rationale. I didn't think, I was just doing, but I didn't put thought into the pain. And I didn't even think back on how I felt until after the fact. And so, and it was like, well, it's too late now to think, like, well, I didn't think that prior to this happening. And so it was just one of those things, like, I'll tell anyone that today, like, know who you are and stand the things that you desire and need and want. You got to make sure that you have that person that you're compatible with, that person that understands you and you understand them. Because doing that behind someone's back and cause it doesn't matter. It would have been easier just to walk away, like, look, it's not working, and hurting you that way, versus doing the cheating thing and hurting you even more. So I learned through that process for sure, but also I was very disappointed in myself.
Yeah, but you learned, and that's just, again, one of the great things about your story and about your book. So we're going to fast forward a little bit. You've graduated college. You have you're an athletic trainer now. You've moved to Georgia. So this is we're skipping a few years. But so you're with your son. You're trying to move a couch up the stairs. I think Kai was 13 or something at the time.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're wondering how you're going to do it. And I have it written down, but so anyway, you're trying to get the couch up the stairs, and you're wondering how to do it, and what happens?
So that let me know, like, okay, there is truly a God. But I knew before then, but like, this is the time that I was teaching my son a lesson. And I'm so happy and thankful that God did it that way. Because there's nothing too big or too small. You pray and you believe, and it happens, So we unloading the couch on the back of the truck. We have to go 3 flights of stairs. Our apartment was on the 3rd floor, right? And so we get to say, and I was tired. I was like, I don't know if I have the energy. And then, my son, of course, he's young, but he's 13. I was like, well, I don't want to, him to hurt himself. We trying to go up these 3 flights of stairs with this couch. And so I stepped on the first, 2 steps, and just holding the couch. We were just holding it. And I said, sit down. And so I just prayed. I just bowed my head. I said, hit my son. And I could tell he was like, wait, what are you doing? And so he just asked, he said, Dad, are you praying? I said, yeah, hold on. So I prayed. And I mean, as soon as the prayer ended, we hear this voice go, do you need help? And my son looked at me, and I'm, we were looking at each other, and I turned and didn't see anyone. And I was like, okay, maybe that's like, wait a minute. If that was my mind, my son would have, at the same time. And I was like, oh, okay. And didn't see anybody, and heard the voice again. Do you need help? And I just said, yes. Didn't see anybody, I was like, yes, wherever the voice is coming from, yes. And this guy, he appeared he was coming off the flight of stairs, Army guy. And he essentially, and I mean this when I say it, it's like he literally lifted it by himself. I mean, I had my hand on it, and I
Mm.
mean, we were going up those flights of stairs. I was like, okay, wow, we're here, and even to this day, I'm so thankful that that happened. But I never saw that guy again, and so I'm like, wow, like, look at God, just to get a couch up the stairs, yeah.
Yes.
So
Well, I wrote, angel with a question mark. Do you think it was an angel?
I have wrestled with that, and I to this day I say yes.
I'm gonna
I
say yes
believe.
too. So there was another time where you heard a voice, and I think this voice was calling you, the voice that was actually calling you maybe into the ministry. Um,
Mhm,
because you just heard your name, and so did you
mhm.
hear? Was that audible?
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
I had got off work. I was going in my apartment. As I opened the door, as soon as I opened the door, I heard Angelo plain as day. And I was like, well, no one knows me. No one was out here, in the breezeway. And I was like, okay, okay, surely I'm not going crazy. This how you got to always rationalize, like, am I going crazy? And so I walk in the apartment and I turn the TV on, sit down on the couch. I heard it again, Angelo. And I was like, okay, now I know for sure I heard that. So I get up. So now I'm scared. So I walk in the bedroom. I was like, okay, is someone in this apartment? So I'm looking through the closet, making sure nobody's standing in the shower. I was like, okay, I'm something's wrong. And then when I sat down on the couch again and I heard it, and I was like, I didn't freeze up or anything. I said, yes, God, kind of like, yes, God. Like that's the only one that could be. And from that point forward, and so I can't explain that to people, verbally. Like I tried to write it as best I could, but I think you have to have that experience yourself to actually know what that feels like. But and even then, when I heard that voice, I still didn't think, I didn't know why he was calling me, and through the conversation, but he was showing me and guiding me. And I said, well, God, preacher or something else, like what am I supposed to be doing? And so, but I said, okay, God, if you're calling me to be, a minister, and preach the gospel, then I need more than you saying my name. So that night, I had a dream, and I was ministering in the pulpit. And I was like, okay, that's just a dream. And maybe I was just thinking about it. So I said, well, God, that didn't do it. Like, that was just me dreaming because I had thought about it. And the next night, plain as day, my mom was on stage with me and I was preaching again and I was introducing my mom and all of that. And I was like, okay, I would say that's okay, God, I got it. So that's kind of how that happened. And so then I knew, okay, he's calling me into ministry. And so
Yes, I love that, and I love the fact that your mom was in your dream. Yes, so now I know you start on the journey into to ministry, and of course there's ups and downs and attacks by the enemy and all of that. But you started a couple ministries. So talk about the ministry. Well, iron sharpens iron is something that you do.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So Iron Sharpens Iron is my mentorship. And the idea is to get young men, and of men of all ages, actually, to tell their story. So I do it on every other Thursday. I haven't aired it this year yet. I'm just waiting for to get some things ironed out and get my guest list together. But it'll be every other Thursday, and I'll make the announcements. But the idea was, it came to me as just like, I grew up, without my dad. And my dad's absence is why I'm a good father to my son, or I try to be. And I was like, well, I knew what that felt like to not have a father. And so I don't want my son to feel that, that emptiness and that absence. And so I was like, well, wait a minute. That I'm positive I'm not the only one who grew up without their dad, for whatever reason. And sometimes, of course, it happens if a father is murdered or dies for whatever, the cause. And so I knew a lot of stories about that. Like when my dad got killed, you know, he was shot, da 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 da. I'm hearing these stories, or my dad died, you know, at cancer or you know, whatever. And so I was like, well, wait a minute. So these are people, you know, 20s and 30s and 40s, and you know, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, we all had that same. It doesn't matter why the dad wasn't there. The point is, we grew up without them, and so there's a void. And I know people think like, yeah, mother is great, and they do their best, but there's things that a man we need that. As a man, like now looking back, I was like, I needed that. I didn't have it, but and I needed it, and but I'm going to give it to my son. But then God, you know, showed me a way, like, wait, you can reach more men. Start the iron sharpens iron, because I don't have all the answers and no one does. But if we collectively put our minds together and have these conversations, because the idea of iron sharpens iron is not to Bible thump and beat you with the Bible, but it is, of course, we're going to talk about God and use scripture. But the point of it is everyday life. Like, what do you do with your wife? What do you do with your kids? How do you overcome this? And this is just relevant things that we're talking about. And then people can understand, you know, like, wait a minute, I'm not the only man that's suffering through that or going through that, because it's not a weakness. And
Yeah.
that's the whole point. I don't want people to look at their, you know, things as weaknesses, the things that they're suffering through or don't have an understanding of. It's not a weakness, it's a deficiency, and but you can fix that. And if we do it collectively together, then we all become better. And that's why it's iron sharpens iron.
Man, I like that. It's not a weakness; it's just a deficiency, and that can be filled and healed and all of that. And when you started talking about that, boy, you lit up. So so that's your thing for sure. So we're just about out of time. So I want to just what one kind of last impartation, or what's one more thing that you would want to leave with your readers?
Yep, just keep going. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days that things don't seem to be going right or in your favor. And those are just moments. Okay, we're going to go through seasons in life. You're going to have your ups, your downs. You're going to have your peaks and your valleys. But don't stray away from the valley. Go through the valley the right way, because there's a lesson through the valley. And so, and as I say in my book, in the end of things, God wants you happy, healthy, and wealthy.
Yes. Well, Angelo, thank you. Thank you for writing your book and sharing your story. There is really so much that you have imparted in terms of lessons and working through things. Spilled Milk, it's available on Amazon. I encourage you to get it and to read it, and it will help you. It will help you heal. So, Angelo, stick around. But aloha to everybody else, and we will see you next time.